So you were talking before about the goddess loves us unconditionally. It's our veils that are stopping us feeling that.
Exactly.
So if you open up the crown chakra, we can let that in.
Exactly.
Okay. So why did we separate from Source in the first place then?
We did that to find out who we are as individuals.
But so we were all basically the Source.
Really,
so
yes.
is it not the Source like playing with itself in some respects?
Exactly.
So
first, there's pure awareness. It needs something to do. So it creates the universe and identifies with it, and splits itself up all over the place to experience it.
So we've split up a long time ago from the Source, and we've always remained individual at that time, or do we visit the Source in between life and death?
Once we split up, we then explore this individuality for many lifetimes.
Okay, and does that all happen like in this plane, or does it happen in different planes?
In many planes.
Right, so even the gods and goddesses like Kali, they've still not returned to Source?
No, see, these are actually representations of the Source, because it's hard to relate to oneness when there's no definition.
Right.
You see, any definition is a creation, therefore it's not Source itself. We need certain tools to relate to it. All these different gods and goddesses are seen as emanations of the one.
Okay, so they're pretty high up there.
And the forms are symbolic. That helps us to understand the energy.
Okay, so these Kali and stuff, they haven't lived a human life or a physical life and then evolved and got to the stage of a god or goddess. They're just a representation of the energy that's close to the Source.
Yes.
Right. And how do we get back to the Source then?
Through this process of gradually releasing the illusion, first we break down all the rigid thought patterns so we can experience oneness. As we go up the scale of emotions, when we get to the crown chakra, we're actually experiencing oneness again. The experience of this pure awareness. Once you've released all identities, all beliefs, you just then just being pure awareness. At that point, you are God.
And can people do that without taking the death initiation plants that we talked about the other day?
In many ways, just that's how the tools we use when you put them.
Okay. So, can people do that in one lifetime without using plants?
Oh, yes.
Okay. And we do that by doing this process we're doing, getting rid of our negative emotions, and
that's right.
I suppose you have to meditate quite a lot as well.
It's helpful.
What is a transmission? Because we do before, when we're doing these point holdings, sometimes you say we're going to do a transmission now. So what is a transmission exactly?
I'm simply tuning into an energy. These energies are all natural, universal energies, but if you don't want to feel that because you've separated and forgotten, you need reminding. Once you put energy into you and you can feel it, so you can then access it yourself.
To be honest, I'm not very consciously aware that, I mean, you say like, remember Shiva, because Shiva's going to help us. And you're doing a transmission. I'm not really consciously aware of a transmission happening.
You only have to pray into it. It's setting your intention. It's showing your willingness to receive.
Right, so that transmission is going into me as long as I show the intention.
Basically, I'm doing a lot of tuning you, so eventually you can feel it.
Okay. So which particular transmissions do you give in the course?
Many.
Can you give us 2 or 3 examples?
Okay. There were a couple of traditions calling upon here. First of all, there's Gtummo, which is an old Tibetan art of fire yoga, which races the kundalini in stages. Because this sacred fire is what can totally purify the body. I'm also working with an energy of, again, myself from a sadhana of Tripura Sundari, who governs the Shree Yantra. Because this energy represents the basic divine blueprint of how the universe was, how you were in your divine state before you had any karma. It kind of reminds you what perfection is like, so you can actually move towards that again.
Was that the picture you gave us?
That's right.
That was quite fascinating, because you said if you've got a tomato that's been GM modified, you can look at the picture and then kind of put the energy
on it, and it'll actually heal its genes.
So it'll repair it?
Yep.
And so if somebody's got like something wrong with them physically, you could kind of, I don't know.
That's how we're using it, yes. You hold upon the energy of it, and that will actually help the person to move towards what is perfect for them.
Back to the DNA natural structure. And one more example of a transmission?
Okay, this is dragonfire. What's that? This is also like a very fire energy which raises kundalini. It's very purifying and uplifts you spiritually.
Okay. So, not on this course, but I believe you do another course after this based on the same principles with regard to manifestation.
Yeah. See, once we go into the crown chakra, we then actually need something called the manifestation center, which is a subtle chakra to the left side of the navel. In Tibet, they use this a lot to actually do the manifestation magic. If this chakra is working, then you have no trouble manifesting what you want.
Do people need to do this course first before going on that course?
Yeah. It's like doing the cranium is almost like the major kind of restructuring, the rest is fine-tuning. Okay.
And to manifest, I mean, what do you do? This chakra is going to get more powerful, and then your thoughts become more powerful, or
What's happened? Well, this is the chakra through which you're manifesting things. If that's working, then your thoughts manifest easily.
Okay, so you're like more in tune with the universal energy that will make things go your way.
It's like there's a source of all abundance out there somewhere that you should be connected to. If that connection is broken, you're not quite letting it in.
Okay.
It's simply like creating a vehicle for which that energy can manifest in you.
Suppose somebody had a negative intention and come to do this course and wanted to create something bad, manifest something bad. Does the creator step in and stop that, or does it just manifest what you want?
Stop themselves. You see, when you do this work, you're working for these emotions. You're actually going to deal with your hostility along the way.
All right. So
you actually get to the crown chakra if you haven't gone through those emotions.
Okay, so then you'd realise there's not much point holding on to them or recreating them.
To get there, you've got to go through those emotions. That's the thing. It's a real change.
Okay, okay. Now, on this course, we're eating raw food. Why is diet important to this process?
Because we're changing physically. As it's not just spiritually. The body is a reflection of that. The glands are changing, the spine's changing. All this uses up there some raw materials, minerals, and enzymes, and so on. And when you cook food, you lose all the enzymes to break down the heat. The enzymes are the catalysts for the reaction in the body.
So basically, when the kundalini is burning, it's like the energy, the enzymes from this raw food, is increasing the heat. It's like a catalyst
not so
for that.
Not the heat, but the need to actually repair the body. The body can't change without enzymes.
Okay.
If the body's not changing, you can't complete the process because it's all one.
So do you recommend eating raw food all the time then?
It's best, yes, because if you're losing enzymes, the body becomes enzyme deficient. It's not going to be as healthy as it could be.
Okay, so maybe 80% of the food we should be eating as human beings should be raw?
Yeah.
Okay, is there any need to cook food at all?
No.
No.
Some things need cooking, because, say beans, for instance, they're poisonous from raw.
Right.
But then, this is not naturally our natural diet. Like, the hunter-gatherer instinct is more based upon gathering nuts and berries and things.
Yeah, but you see, I mean, I've heard people talk about how we are naturally vegetarians because we've got a long intestinal tract. Because when you eat meat, animals that eat meat have got a very short one, so it goes through them quickly. But if we eat it stays in our intestinal tract. So, what did hunters? You said hunter-gatherer. The hunters still went out.
Yes, but you see, originally when you hunted things out it raw, again the meat has got enzymes too.
Okay. So if we're going to eat meat, eat it raw.
You've got to catch it yourself as well. The whole process of running it down, it's in motion. You see, you produce an enzyme in the stomach called pepsin. See, pepsin is only produced when there's higher acidity. Now, you have higher acidity when you're eating a lot of junk. It's actually not the most natural enzyme to produce when you're on a healthy diet. You find most animals run more on pepsin, which is a slightly higher pH with a lower acidity. Okay. Now, this is also what's produced in muscle tissues when animals running away. So, say your hunter's running down the animal. Well, that animal's running, it's producing all the ceptin. The time it's caught it, it's already digesting itself. And then your stomach's got less work to do.
Alright. But, for instance, slaughterhouses, they've got lots of animals and a great deal of fear before they go into them.
It's a completely different chemistry.
But, so, that fear is like fight or flight, but they can't run, so they produce adrenaline.
Right.
And that adrenaline goes into the meat, and then we're absorbing that.
Yeah.
And what does that do to a human's body?
Well, it keeps you in fear.
Ah, interesting. Which helps with the control that's going on.
Exactly.
And we have to soak nuts for 1 day, you say?
Yeah.
That just
4 hours.
That releases the enzymes in them. Yeah. So anyone buying any nuts or things like
soak them simply because when any seed is in its stored state, it has an enzyme inhibitor to keep it stable.
Right.
Once it's ready to germinate, it's got full of enzymes again.
So seeds like pumpkin seeds and stuff as well?
Yeah. All nuts and seeds should be soaked.
Muesli? You soak your muesli in water and then...
You can do that too, yeah.
Right.
Makes it nicer.
So what's the healing crisis then? We're doing this process and some people are getting a cold or a sore head or... What's the healing crisis?
The simple suppression's coming out. Body's going to throw out all its old toxins as well as emotions. So, when you start releasing its old anger, it's all coming out everywhere, and you might still be angry for a while after it's coming out. Body will then release its toxins, you might have a cold, you might have diarrhea. Okay. Body's just cleansing itself.
And ayahuasca, does that help with any of this stuff?
Very similar. See, ayahuasca is a healer, and it's not always gentle. It can make you sick, and it'll bring out all those deep suppressions.
So the fact that we're doing all this stuff and trying to release emotions, will that kind of purge us more from the stuff that we're trying to release? Will that aid the process?
It's another step in the same process.
Okay.
Another tool.
It's not absolutely necessary.
No, just work in itself is complete. But
okay.
There's no harm in trying a few other tools in between. The mind gets bored of one thing, wants to try something else sometimes, and it's always good to have another angle.
Okay. How often do you do this course?
And this 2 weeks I do once a year.
If somebody wanted to come to you to do it themselves privately,
I can do that, yeah.
you would be willing to do that?
Yes.
And what's the name of your website?
AzizShamanism.com.
Okay, thanks for your time, and we'll talk again soon.